we were actually going to take that kill scene a little bit further, but we literally ran out of time. I was going to take coal and light it on fire, kind of juggle around like it's hot, and like shove it into his eyeballs. And we ran out of time that day. It was like, dang, nap it, but we still got the carrot in the nose because we wanted to go for that full like snowman effect. So yeah, I love that one. It's just fun.
Hi David, this question's for you. And I know that how much you love playing as a role as Art the Clown, and I'm really, really praying that you get the Joker role that you always wanted. Like you always started from season 1 all the way to the beginning. As of right now, I still love the remix, of course. And if you get the role and when you nail it, you will honestly be considered the greatest clown actor ever.
I would be happy to be known as the guy that was all the clowns and stuff like that. That'd be a fun way to go out. You know, I'll definitely, whenever I die one day, we'll have to do some kind of prank for everybody when I die, I guess. And then just come out and cough like a jack in the box or something like that. But yeah.
Can I get like 20 seconds of you just in that role, in that mindset of Joker?
Let me see. Memory is so treacherous. One moment you're lost in a carnival delight of the poet, childhood aromas, a flashing neon of puberty, all that sentimental candy floss. The next, it takes you somewhere you don't want to go. Somewhere dark, cold, filled with damp, ambiguous shapes of things you don't forgotten. Memories can be such vile, repulsive little brutes. Like children, I suppose. Thank you so much. Call me James.
So this question is for Samantha. When you were getting the Terrifier 3 script, and what was your first reaction when you saw like the glass masturbation scene?
Like, let's go, let's go. I want to be memorable. I'm so desensitized and dissociated from this franchise. I didn't even process that I was birthing ahead until Howard Stern was talking about it on his radio show. The only reason I realized it is because I said it to my father. And I was like, oh, damn, we're on Howard Stern. I was like, oh shit, do not listen to that. So I only really learn about these things as I'm doing them or someone tells them to me at the table. But I read it, and it was written simply, and in parentheses it said will be done tastefully. I was like,
True, that's true.
True, it was 100% true. But Damien is awesome. Damien always, has a conversation. He breaks it down. I asked him, I was like, are you going to see a lot, like anything would change maybe my feelings about it? And he said, we're not going to see anything. Trust me, I do trust him. So so I just, that's how I felt. I was like, I also as an actor, I love to be uncomfortable. I want to see where my edge is and I want to push further. And that was definitely a scene where I was pushing past my edge. But,
This is actually an interesting story that happened. Samantha and I weren't supposed to be in part 3. You guys know the story about the changing of the ending of part 2? The whole ending had to be reshot because originally, at the end of 2, we go into the cell, Leah and I, and Victoria's freaking out. She throws food in our face. She starts going crazy. We're trying to restrain her. She bites off Leah's fingers. We're covered in blood. I'm fighting with her, and her head turns around, and the back of her head is now Art the Clown's face. So that was kind of the ending. In the meantime, we're just talking about this, the 6 months in between the post-production of the movie coming out. A movie called *Malignant* came out that had the exact same ending. So Damien was freaked out and had to reshoot the ending to part 2, which then led to me being in 3 and Victoria as well. And I don't think Victoria was supposed to be in 3 either. She's one of the stars of 3. So, thanks to *Malignant*.
James Wan contributed greatly to part 3 without realizing it.
Okay, my question is for Antonella. From what
what I've heard you at 11 when it started, was there ever a time where you felt uncomfortable on set or like it was real?
Well,
Oh, no.
She's a badass. She's a
Oh, I
fucking
know.
badass.
Pause, I just didn't think. I got it.
Something that really did help me not get into that headspace, other than when I was filming, is that, like for example, I met David out of makeup first on my first day, which I feel like that really helped because I got to know him and not just the scary or the clown persona. And I never met Sam out of camera, out of costume until the premiere. So like I feel like it was a bit of a different experience. And I feel like there were some times on set where I was a little bit like, okay.
I definitely, we never met while we were with my actual face, and the same with Chris, but you were amazing. I mean, I was so worried because there were scenes where you were like sobbing, and we were all like, is she okay? David would call cut, and she's like, good, like, we were gonna go, let's go again. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I was so worried I was traumatizing this poor child. I'm a former teacher, so I know that's one of my things. I'm like, oh my God, because all the kids we had on set, I was always so worried about traumatizing them. Like when we did the mall scene, I asked Damien if I could come in before we filmed, just so I could meet all the children, and even though I was wearing the costume and makeup, just so I could talk to them as myself, to put them at ease and all that. And I, with her, I was like, when I had the knife up to her throat and I was right in her face, I felt so icky doing that. And she's over here shaking and sobbing like crazy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working this poor child. Oh, and I'm like, are you okay? I am so sorry. She just wiped her face. She's like, I'm doing great. This is fun. I'm like, man, you're good.
After we finished, then I'd just go back to the room upstairs and go do some schooling. So I'll be like, tears still kind of like dry on my face filled with like blood, and I'll be doing like mathematical equations, asking my teacher, hey, what does this mean?
I even came in and helped, with some of your lessons too. Former teachers, like, what are you studying today? Oh, history, fantastic. Let's talk about the French Revolution right now.
Thank you.
This question is for David. What was one of your favorite memories on set?
Oh my gosh. I have so many of them, but I would probably say who was doing the bar scene is one of them. Of course, I already, talked about that, but I really love doing the mall scene because that's the first time I've had a captive audience because we were doing it in the mall, so we had a whole entire group of people just watching above. And I'm a former stage actor, and I haven't been on stage in about a decade, and I miss that feeling of being able to just perform in front of people. And so I had this whole audience up there I was just performing for, so every time they would say cut, getting laughs and applause, I'm like, I missed this. This is wonderful. It was so much fun. So that was just great. And Dave's like, Dave, you're a total different beast today on set. Like, dude, I got a live audience. This is like in my element right now. I'm loving this. So that was such a fun moment for me. And also just doing the chainsaw sword fight. That was like my inner kid was coming out like crazy that way because I've always wanted to do a sword fight. So I was like, this is awesome. I'm gonna be able to chainsaw. And my stunt double did a lot of it for me too. Like I cannot pick up Lauren and throw her on the ground, so he did that. He also did the whole thing with the ball grab. So I was like, you do that, buddy. You do that. Have fun. I'll just tell the reaction. So I have to give a big props to my understudy. Not understudy, but my stunt double, Bobby. He is like Bobby McFarland. He's a fantastic stunt performer. So I always feel like stunt actors do not get the recognition they deserve. So I want to give Bobby big props for the work he did.
Thank you.
How you guys doing? It's a little off topic, but about 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, I had the first ever pro wrestling podcast on the internet. And Chris Jericho used to work for a company that didn't appreciate him or know what to do with him. So he used to sent him to me to try to get him over on pseudo.com and Justice for All. And I just want to say, it's tremendous seeing him here now. Not only a world champion, global superstar, but also a rock star and a movie star in the horror god. Can we all give it up for Chris Jericho, please? You guys are working fantastic. Chris, see you soon.
Thank you, man. It's amazing to me, just on that topic, just how huge the Terrifier franchise is. And just to have, a small part in 2 and 3, the amount of Terrifier merchandise that I sign, that we all sign at cons like this, is absolutely incredibly amazing. How huge this franchise has become. And I ended up in Terrifier 2 because I saw Terrifier 1 very early on, and we were actually on tour with Fozzy, and the guitar player was like, "You gotta watch this movie, Terrifier. What's it about?" Killer Clown. I'm like, "Nah, this ain't enough Killer Clowns." It's like, no, dude, you haven't seen this one. And of course, he shows me the scene, the sawing scene. That's not the one that got me. The one that got me was in the pizza parlor, when Art kills the one guy and the worker there. And it's not 1 stab or 2 stab, it's like 50 stabs. Just and I was like, this guy's fucking crazy. This movie is insane. So I started really talking about it on my podcast and to all my horror friends. And word started getting around, and that's kind of how I got connected with David, with Damien, and ended up in 2 and 3. So I've kind of been invested in this franchise from the start. Like, I was one of the OGs, and to see how huge it's become and to be a part of it, it's just unbelievable. It's such an honor. So thanks to you guys for having so much interest in bringing all of this cool stuff to sign. And one last thing I'll say, there has never been so many movie posters for a franchise. There's like 50 fucking posters for every single movie, which is crazy. So anyways, thanks to you guys for being such big fans of this franchise.
Hi, so I have a question for David. So in Terrifier 2, in the clown cafe scene, there's a moment where we hear the Art Crispy announcement, and it's you doing the voiceover for that. I've heard people speculating that if Art ever had a voice, then that's what it would sound like. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, no. That's funny you mention that, because I have actually had arguments with people over that. Like, that was Mark Hamill doing that. I'm like, no, thank you. Thank you. No, that was Mark Hamill. I knew Mark Hamill's voice. I'm like, no, we did not have a budget for Mark Hamill. But thank you. but that would have been amazing too. And I actually recorded that as a placeholder too, because Damien was just going to get a voice actor. He's like, Dave, can you just, record something for this so I have something just so we can do timing? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I can't half-ass things, so I just had fun with it. And he's like, dude, we're just going to use this. I'm like, awesome, sweet. I actually get some voiceover credit in this movie. Fantastic. But what was the question? Oh my god.
What are your thoughts of people speculating that if Art had a voice?
Yes, no, because that's always a fun question. It's like, what would Art sound like? I don't think whatever voice would come out would satisfy anybody, because everybody has their own version of what they think he would sound like. To me, I think it would be hilarious if he had a very posh British accent. Yes, I have that. I'm talking. I'm going to cut all of you in half and everything from, the head to the tail. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I had a question for Chris. With you being a professional wrestler in such a great franchise like Terrifier, are there any other professional wrestlers that you'd like to see in future installments? Maybe Rhea Ripley?
I keep telling Damien that Burke has to have a twin brother, so I can be in the 4th one.
Hey, you can get possessed also.
In the Terrifier franchise, you never know what's going to happen, right? You can come back as a zombie or as a possessed, pizza delivery guy or something. But yeah, I think Rhea would be great. I know she's a big fan. I know that, that's the thing. There's so many people now that are huge fans of the franchise. They look at all the stuff that Spencer's done with Ice Nine Kills and the work of Art. It's become part of the pop culture zeitgeist of the Clown and Terrifier, to where, and it's once again another reason reason why this franchise is so popular, that we now have a movie killer from our generation from now. It's not Freddy or Leatherface or Michael Myers, which are all great characters. This is the first new, legit superstar, franchise player as a killer in Art the Clown and Terrifier. So that's why everybody wants to be a part of it, because it's so cool. Who doesn't want to get killed by Art the Clown? And I got killed by Art the Clown and Vicky, which I think is the only one. You had to double team Berg to get him down. That's how tough he was.
Thank you.
I didn't have a hand at that point.
So as we all know, right down the road, there is an amazing Terrifier Halloween Horror Nights house. For those of you on stage who have gone through that house, tell me about your reaction and maybe your favorite moment.
It was so much fun. I loved it. I loved it so much. We've all been to the one in Los Angeles, right? Yeah. And we're going to the one in Orlando tonight.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I live about 3.5 hours away in Miami, so I drive up to Orlando to go to Universal every year with my parents. So last month in September, my dad and I went to the Halloween Horror Nights house here, and it was awesome. Really, the house is a bit different, but I remember it was so cool. It's like I think I also saw it's like Alexa when she's in the shower and she has the glasses on. They have that in the house here. I remember it was so cool.
Yeah, we got to do the LA one. That was really awesome. But we've been hearing amazing stuff about Orlando and a lot more characters, a lot more scenes. There was more Vickies, I've been told, at my team. And props to all the actors wearing Vicky face, but yeah.
I'm very stoked too. I love going to the one in LA. That made me very happy. And I have to say, the one person that scared me, and it's so appropriate, was Sienna. So I'm like, damn it. But I also just love seeing all my babies, as I call them, going around the park and everything. All the actors playing Art have been doing me proud. They've been doing so many great little videos. It's just been so much fun for like my girlfriend and I will sit up at night finding these different videos of people that are taking the different arts, messing around with people in the parks. And it's just, that makes me so happy to see that. I love it, especially with Thomas, who, if anybody knows who Thomas is, Magical Thomas. Yes, that made me so happy seeing him interact with Art. So I was like, this is so cool with this. It's because I think that's the first time Universal ever actually had one of the characters from one of the haunts actually go throughout the park and interact with people, which is really cool to be at first too. So I was like, that makes sense. That would be Art doing that. So it's so cool. So I can't wait for tonight.
And once again, just to say how huge it is that Terrifier and Art the Clown have their own house at Universal. Like there's Poltergeist and there's Jason Voorhees who's here. There's all of those, and then The Last of Us, etc., Five Nights at Freddy. It just shows just how massive Terrifier has become, and to be able to go to the opening in LA and then the red carpet and see all the brouhaha and all the pomp and circumstance. It's like, man, this is a really cool time to be a horror movie fan and to be a Terrifier fan.
And I was going to say, David, I think the first time you were at Spooky was